Welcome, welcome, welcome. Belle is back with Breaking the Ceiling. We're doing things a little bit different this year. Obviously, last year we kicked it off. I did 6 interviews with different radio personalities, got a lot of love for it. So me and the radio fam decided to bring it back, and we're doing it different. We're doing mini panels, and my first panel here is with digital creators. Now, these 3 guys I worked with at Radio 1 when I was an online editor. This conversation, it's going to be good. They're all digital creators. They've all worked on the digital side. They're still working there. They're also media personalities themselves. So I'm not even going to hold it anymore. Welcome, my guys here. Digital creators panel, Noel, Aliyah Faust, and J.R. Bang are here.
Hey, we got applause sound. We got a sounder.
Here we go.
Hey. Oh, okay.
Hey, that's what we got to do for the black folks, right? One more time.
Set this conversation up right.
Run it back.
For people that don't know you guys, I'm going to let you introduce yourselves, kind of run down your bio a little bit one by one.
I am Noelle, based out of Columbus, Ohio, still working for Radio 1 Urban 1. I'm an on-air personality for Magic 95.5, and I also help with a lot of digital stuff in my region. Been in the industry as long as some of the people that I work with have been alive. Worked at several stations across the company and just kind of got thrown into digital, and now digital is my life. I'll just leave it at that.
Don't miss the part that you're a regional online editor. So you a boss over a couple of different markets here, okay?
Yeah, I am. More than a couple, but yes, I am.
Exactly. Aliya?
All right, my name is Aliyah Faust. I actually currently work on the label side now as a marketing director for RCAI and Sony Music. Met these wonderful people at Radio 1, where I was online editor in a few different markets, Baltimore, and then actually transitioned over to syndicated radio at Reach Media. And that's kind of life, still doing my thing on the digital side, even though I'm not fully in it full time, but Gospel Goodies, Goodie Gang. That's where I still keep my hand into the digital space. So. And
you are also a radio personality yourself.
Yes. How could I forget that? That kind of stumbled into my lap. So my blog actually, somebody noticed it and they asked me if I was interested in a radio show in my hometown, Philly. So I do have a show on Sunday nights on Philly's Favor. It's called Gospel Goodies.
Yes. And last but not least, J.R. Bang.
Oh, I'm leased here. Y'all got it. J.R. Bang, aka J.R. Davis, managing editor for Black America Web, Reach Media. I actually replaced Aliya as she went and did her label thing and is doing a label thing. So, salute to Aliya on that. Also, I have 2 podcasts, Some Do Podcasts, First Black Champ Podcast, host, father, husband, and anything else you can think of that's good in the world.
And your Instagram page is always funny.
Yes. Yes. So thank you. I try not to take myself seriously and have a bit of fun on that. So, and y'all love it and enjoy it. So Matt, hey, the Power Ranger thing is the biggest thing that I've ever done. Like about 300,000 people reached and viewed and stuff. I didn't even know that people enjoyed that video that much. So,
but that's what always happens. I've noticed in the digital world, like that's when something goes viral, when you're just kind of throwing it out there, when you're trying to go viral or really, for me, that's when it hasn't happened. It always happens when it's just something that you just haphazardly, organically throw out there.
Oh yeah.
With all the different media outlets that are out there, why did radio stick out for you to work in the first place?
It was nothing that I was trying to do. I have family in the business. Shouts out to my homie Sam Silk, my big cousin. I was working in retail for years and I was doing music. Just so happened to do a show with him, Family Day at WGCI. I think it was 2005, and still didn't decide to pursue anything until around 2009. Graduated from the Illinois Center for Broadcasting in 2010. And then that's when the bug happened. So it was really, I ain't got nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. I'm bored. So let's see what happens. And it's turned out to be a very rewarding, about 10, 11 years.
The stories where I hear people say, "Oh, I just fell into radio," always gets me. I'm like, how do you just fall into it?
I was literally, it was literally, I ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah, I literally fell into it. Like my whole thing was writing, and of course, radio is journalism. But like in school, when I was a kid, all I ever did was everything towards writing. So at the time of just building my life to become that, I didn't realize that was something I could do in radio, but I also came in at a time where digital was becoming kind of prominent in radio. Somebody knew I was a writer and they're like, hey, I need somebody to look after, like, help me with these sites, look after these sites. And that's how I got into it full time. But even before that, I was working at a radio station because like JR, I needed something to do. I just got out of school. And I was like, well, they're looking for some promotions assistance, and I'm doing this on the side with the magazines and freelancing. Let me at least stick into the field of journalism. But again, while I was there, somebody, they just needed help with the journalism side of it on digital. So that's how I got into it there. And I think what made me pursue it full time is just realizing how far you could actually go and reach people. Because at that same time, I feel like around like that 2010 to 12 era, entertainment was kind of turning really gossipy. And I just wasn't liking what I was actually writing for these different magazines and stuff too. So I was like, at least radio, I could still go back to what I was passionate about actually touching people and talking about things they actually cared about. And obviously, radio has kind of shifted into a whole lot of gossip too. But in the beginning, that was the drive.
For me, I'm a fall into radio person. When I have to go all the way back to college, because while I was in college, I was studying broadcasting journalism, University of Arkansas. I was working in television while working, while in college. And I went to my professor and I was like, I just really think that the university needs a radio station. And I just wanted to make a suggestion to him. And I went about my business, went about my life. And months later, I don't even remember what the time span was. He comes back to me, pulls me out of class. I'm thinking I did something. And he takes me to this room and opens the door. And he's like, here's the radio station and you're going to help run it and put it together. And I'm like, what? This is not what I do. So I helped put together the student ran radio station. We got paid staff. Of course, he wanted to put me on the paid staff. So I'm doing this, I'm doing television, and I'm seeking my degree. In the meantime, I graduate and I move, and I just start throwing my resume out there to television and radio, and radio bit first. So I was on air at that time, and then working at an independent radio station. They were like, we need a website. You can build it. And I'm like, I don't know how to build a website. So I literally went to the library and got HTML for Dummies. And that was the beginning of my digital career with radio. Obviously, I've come off air full time and gone into digital full time, but that's like how it all started.
In this day and age of social media, do you think it really is important for a radio personality or anybody that's trying to work in the media world? Break it down for those that are still trying to struggle to go viral or, have those casual moments of, people just following them for one little post.
I will jump in and I will say absolutely 1000% yes. Now in the position that I'm doing now, I'm hiring people, and one of the first things we do is we look at their resume, of course. But we go look at their social, because social media, even though people are giving a piece of what they want to give of themselves, you definitely learn about that person through what they're posting, what they're doing, what they're saying. And it's a good way to get a glimpse of somebody and learn a little bit about somebody. And in media, whether you're working behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, it's a very personality heavy driven industry. So it's important for them to see what type of person you are, what things you like, what things make you tick. And that's the type of stuff you should be sharing on social media. So absolutely, I don't understand why anybody that works in media would not have a social media. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and that's not only in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, that's outside of it. We spent time talking about, how I put some of the stuff, memes and funny moments with the family all on social media. And I'm just the managing editor. Now, before that, I did run, just like you all did, run a college radio station and things of that nature. But even then, I was like, I don't want to take pictures. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But the minute I started doing those things, it grew. And then from there, started making web series and video features, and it grew even more. I remember actually I had interviewed and applied. I applied and interviewed and went on air, had my on air audition for Radio 1 Cleveland. And I remember people there saying, well, if you're doing all of this in Chicago, why you want to come to Cleveland? Now, my thought was, because I'm going to get paid more and I'm going to get insurance. I got a baby, so I'm going to need all of this. But people saw what I was doing on social media, from hosting shows, events, the web series and all of that. And they're like, yo, you're doing so much and you're showing so much on social media. So that's needed for anything that you do, whether it's on or off the camera, but all it does, if you don't do it correctly, is enhance your profile, and you can monetize it as well.
You guys hit the nail on the head. To Nia's point too, social media kind of is your resume. And I know when I was in like a hiring space as well, I would go on social media. If I'm looking for a digital creator, I would go on their social media and see what they're creating. So if I see you created a video and it looks crazy, that kind of tells me what you might do for us.
A lot has changed in radio, but you still have those old school people that think that radio personalities and digital can do it all by themselves. So I want to kind of break down the importance of having a social media manager who properly manages and helps promote a brand, the station's brand, as well as promoting that personality. Because we're only one person. We can't be on the air, post 2 blogs, and then post funny stuff on social media.
No, you can. Mm-hmm. You just have to prioritize things. You can post on a website and you can schedule it. You could do that before you go to work. When you get to work, you want to make sure you set your appointments. At 9:30, at 9:43, we giving away tickets to go see the Jonas Brothers. Y'all make sure y'all tune in to insert whatever stations here. The social media manager is there to help you along that way, and not only do stuff for you, but do things for the station as a whole. Just do what you're paid to do and be impactful by doing it. I think sometimes we overthink things. And you think that you have to have a camera here or a big production. It's just about prioritizing. And that social media manager, that editor, that digital program director is there to not only help you, but to help the station as a whole.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, to piggyback on what JR is saying, is that we do overthink it. But one thing that is on our side is if you initiate time management. I think the thing about a lot of on-air personalities is that they think, oh, I'm on the air from 10 to 3, and they think that that's their time slot to work. But really, 10 to 3 is when you're doing a show. You have to do show prep. You have to prepare. You have to see what's trending. So you have a plan for what you want to do that day. But also being on air and in the digital space, knowing when it's time to shift, because there've been so many times in my career where I've had a plan and something happens and I have to shift. You may have created this amazing reel or TikTok for the day, but then Sidney Poitier dies. So you have to shift. So you hold on to that reel or TikTok for tomorrow, and just knowing what your audience is about and what is relatable and what people are gravitating towards at the time can really help you in just planning out. I feel like a lot of the people in media and on air and creators, some of them, the thing that they're lacking is the lack of planning and actually taking strategic time to think about what they're going to do and not just, oh, I love this sound and let me go redo this reel because somebody else went viral for it. We're cranking out content so quickly. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses and compete. But what are you doing to really strategically plan your brand and plan what you want to do on a daily basis? I think that's where a lot of us have gotten away, just because the fast turnover content. Oh, this is hot. This is the trending sound. This is what everybody's doing now. I think that's pulled us away from the core of a lot of the things that we need to do.
For the overall brand and having that extra help, I don't think a lot of radio companies still understand how important it is to have a person that strictly manages that, social media profile for their station and how they want that aesthetic to be. So that's the kind of thing I wanted you to talk about a little bit more.
As an online editor, digital program director, whatever you want to call it, that type of position, right? Mm-hmm. You got to film, you got to edit, you got to do social media, you got to do the website, you got to handle sales stuff probably. You have to be a liaison to jocks. You got to be a liaison to the program director. You got to be a liaison to the promotions director. You have a lot of things on your plate. So if there was one person that could just focus on social media, I think it would be great for all involved. But because of radio and because, that we know people take jobs and consolidate other jobs and to try to save a buck. The digital person really is one of the few jobs inside of a radio station that literally touches every department, and they touch it in multiple ways as well. So it's not just, you're doing one thing. You could be doing probably 5 things for a department and do a different 5 things for another department. So it would be great if there was one person that can focus on just this, one person who did a great job at that. Shouts out to my man, Glenn Woods. He was at Radio 1 Atlanta. He was the social media director for Radio 1 Atlanta, and their social media was one of the better social media platforms in the company. One of the few that was verified as well. And that was off of his work. I think he's now at Hulu right now. But that's a job that in a perfect world, it could be one person that can do that. But we work in radio, so it's a lot of job consolidation to save some money.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that the nice thing about having one in-house, if you have one at your station, mm-hmm. is that person also, something that JR didn't mention, is the person to go to for finding out what's happening, because social media is ever changing and it changes so quickly. They tell us on a Monday and Tuesday they're rolling out a new product. So how are all the air personalities supposed to know that now everybody can, put a URL link in a story on Instagram? Mm-hmm. You don't know that. And that is one nice thing about having that digital manager, social media manager in office. They will know about those things, at least they should, and can relay it to the staff that things are changing. So it's a very, very important role. If any general managers are out there listening and you don't have one, go get you one, because it will help your brand immensely. It will help your jocks. It will help your sales. So go get a social manager, digital manager, because it's the land we live in now, and it's not going away.
Exactly. And pay them what they're worth. Okay.
Listen, that's the other thing.
It's also understanding each platform in depth, right? Mm-hmm. So how you talk to somebody on Twitter is not how you talk to somebody on Instagram. It's not how you talk to somebody on Facebook. Some stations have Triller, some stations have TikTok. Some people may even still be on Snapchat. And these are all different platforms that require a special attention to it. So if you're a jock and you're relying, or you're a PD and you're relying on a jock and you're wondering why something isn't performing, that's literally why, because you have to tailor the content to that platform. It's important to check your messages. It's important to respond to people. It's important to update it regularly, even beyond that show. It's something that really requires around the clock work. And that's something that people in the digital space commit to when they take a position like that too. It may be a 9-to-5 job, but as a online editor or as a social media manager or anybody in the digital space, you kind of take on that role where it's like, if something happens at 9 p.m., yes, I'm off, I might be in bed, but that's my job to get it done.
Yeah, like the actual radio shows, you can't, like you said, you can't solely rely on a radio person, like an on-air personality to do all the posting. You definitely need that in between. And I do notice that a lot with some radio stations where like Jock will post and then you won't see another post for like 3 or 4 days. And then all of a sudden there's another post from that same Jock because nobody else has posted in between.
The thing that people forget about social media, it's called social for a reason. To make it work for you and your brand, you have to be social and you have to interact with the people. You can't post once a month, once every couple of days, especially for a brand, and think that people are just going to come to you because you're the Black station in your city. That's just not how it works.
There has to be consistency in it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have like 6 people with 6 different voices trying to represent a brand. Or what if when it comes down to graphics, people are not all at the same level of creating graphics or videos or things like that too. So that digital person kind of just brings it all together. Even if somebody is doing a tweet or something or has an idea, they can still be led or directed by that person in place on to how to best execute.
You guys all hit it on the money. So I hope any broadcasting companies that end up watching this
pay people what they worth.
Yeah.
You guys also create on your own brands, and then you have to create with, the broadcasting companies. How do you balance that out so that you're not getting burned out?
I don't. I'm not. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm not even going to lie, sugarcoat it. I suck right now. When it comes to maintaining my personal brand along with maintaining my job. I do 2 podcasts outside of this. But I also have 3 kids, all under the age of 8. Then I'm married. So I try to blend my personal content with the kids and the wife to continue that. But there's also other things that I do outside of the podcast. And I also help out other people. Mm-hmm. And then I got a job. And it's not just that I have a job. I don't have just a regular job. Yeah. Nia would call me number 2, sometimes. But that number 2 is also because, number 1 might take some time off. So when that happens, who comes in? Probably, I would say on our team, I'm the most experienced person outside of our director of content. So whether I was number 2 or not, I'm the most experienced. That's a lot of weight that's put on my shoulders. And then you want me to turn around and do a TikTok? Nah, it's not going to work like you want it to. At the same time, you have to prioritize that to maintain. You don't want your job to be the only thing that you do. You have to put some side of time to make sure that your brand is what you want it to be. Like, I'm jealous of Nia. At the fact, I'm jealous. Look, what Nia won't tell y'all is Nia's famous. Nia be doing fashion stuff. And I know the fashion thing is a lot on her plate. She has her own personal brand that she has to take care of. And then she got to deal with Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis. That's a lot. But she do it with a smile on her face. She might be stressed and everything, but she don't let the team know it. She better than me.
I'll turn my camera on all
right. That's what I'm saying. You better than me when it comes to that. So that's why I say I suck at it. I am terrible. My work-life balance is horrible, but I still try to make sure I got like 5 minutes or something. And that's when you get those random reels, TikToks, photos that I'll put up, and I only put them up to continue to maintain. Because once people don't see you after a week, it's out of sight, out of mind, and you do not want that to happen. And you don't want that to happen to your station or your jocks as well. So that's why all of those things are important.
But you know what, Bang? I feel like we all feel that way, because as you're sitting here talking about you suck and that I'm doing this and that and the third, I'm sitting on a whole project that I haven't had time to complete. And I've been sitting on it for about 6 months. It's this close to being done and launched.
Okay.
But also for me, I don't know, maybe you guys can speak to this. Sometimes I just don't have the energy for my personal stuff. I have so much into the job. Mm-hmm. So many people done frustrated me. I can't turn my camera on because I don't want you to see how mad I am. And I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to open my Mac. I don't want to touch my iPhone. So there are things like this personal project I'm working on that I've been sitting on, and that I just need a little bit more time to complete. So there is burnout, and I was majorly having it right before Christmas, around my birthday time. Actually, the day before I had PTO scheduled, I texted our director of content when I was on PTO, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much I needed this, because I was ready to murder some people. And it wasn't like anything was any worse at that time. It's just, I was here. I was so full, and we had been working so hard and covering for other people. You know, we're in a panini, people been sick. So we're covering for other people when they're out sick and doing this, that, and the third. I was just tired. So burnout is real. And I don't even know if it's avoidable, but I think you can work with it by, like JR said, taking some time to do something for yourself and not necessarily worry about, let me film it, let me take a picture, let me do this. Like, this afternoon, I'm going to do something for myself when we're done here. And I just feel like we really get away from that, and we have to, because that's going to help balance it and not burn yourself out as quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. I know, like for me, at the end of the year, I took 2 weeks off of social media.
How?
I just completely didn't touch it. I didn't even look at it.
Man, I can't. And it's not that I'm addicted. It's just that, you know, I have to maintain my other content. And that's the thing about my position that sucks, because I got to maintain my other content. So my vacation from my job enable me to throw up an extra video or two for my podcast that ain't stopping when I'm on vacation. Like I'm working, the podcast can't go on vacation at the same time.
But here's the thing that we could also probably all four of us think about and working towards is, with the personal, having some team members or something that can kind of step in and help a little bit, or even that planning a little bit, so you can have a little bit of that time off like Janelle had. Yeah. So if that's handing something over to a partner or somebody that's helping you maintain, or working really, really hard before you take that time off to where you can schedule some stuff, we owe that to ourselves. And I think we need to try to, all four of us, press that so we can have that luxury of a little time off, whatever that time is you choose, whether that's a week, 2 weeks, a day.
I feel like it'd be hard for anybody to master it, but I'm learning work-life balance, right? So I think it's literally a matter of just putting your foot down, even when that comes to yourself or to your work. Because if you don't, your body will make you. But you just have to decide that 7 o'clock, no matter what, I'm shutting it down unless it's breaking news. That's something I had to decide to do and be okay with, because in the digital space too, like with hard work, is like, we don't want to miss a beat. But if you're the end all be all there, which is why you PDs and stuff should maybe hire 2 people.
That's true.
A team.
A team.
Like, yes. you can't expect to be 100 when you're just one person for a whole brand that may require realistically 3 to 5 people. Because realistically in other industries, there are digital departments. There's not one person.
Yeah.
A whole digital department. But what I did for myself is literally just making sure I cut it off at a certain time. I have a consulting company where I work with other brands and help them like in their digital spaces. And I have to decide that, okay, I'm going to get up 2 hours early during the week so I can get this stuff out of the way, do my full-time work stuff, have my evenings open. And it's a little harder that way, but I also have my weekends free and clear too, unless something is like breaking or super important. So I feel like it's a little give and take of sacrifice, maneuvering it around and prioritizing. Because some things you might just have to say like, yo, I can't, not today. And that's okay. Because again, we can't be 100 for everything. And I think that's where the burnout begins, is trying to be 100 to everything.
I will say that 2022, my word of the year is boundary. That's the one thing that I'm learning on all levels too, because you know, my trek went from moving, like I got married on Valentine's Day and moved the next day.
I would murder my husband.
He says I got married on Valentine's Day, moved the next day, and then a year later moved to DC, and then a year later moved to another spot in DC, and then 6 years later moved back to Chicago. So I've been moving and within that time had 2 more kids. So there's been a lot that I have done for myself, but to myself in 7 years. So boundaries is going to be the word of the year for me, because I have to keep myself in check. And not only for me, but, for my family and everything. And if health issues have happened these last year and a half that have made me go, nah, I really got to hold.
Thinking about what Aliya said and then combining boundaries with it. So maybe all of us can take that boundary of from 7 to 9 p.m. at night. That's my quiet time. That's my hobby time. That's my cooking time. I watch my favorite show. So maybe that's a boundary that all of us can take, is that a boundary of time, knowing this time slot is mine. And then telling people that back us or help us that, hey, this is where I got to take this time of block. So if something pops, I'm really going to need your help then. I think there's something we can all learn from that. And I'm just putting it out there because I'm listening to all of us talk and absorbing it. And I'm like, I need to do this. I need to do that. Let's combine this.
Like with our jobs, former jobs and current jobs, like, we're family, it's just one of us in the building, you know what I'm saying? But when we get on a call, when we get on Slack or whatever, it's all of us. It's like, now we're Captain Planet, now we're Voltron, and now we're all connected. But the other part about that is this is a job that a lot of people don't necessarily know. Like, we've all been in a building where somebody came to you and say, oh, this is my digital guru, or this is the IT computer person. I don't think there's ever been a time where somebody's consistently got my job title right. Like, you might get 1 week that they say the title right, but the other 2 weeks is like, they got it wrong. So it's a kinship, and we all been through it. We know what a program director do. We know what a general manager do. We know what a DSM do. We know what an IMM do or supposed to do, an integrated marketing manager. We know what an account executive supposed to do, a board op. Very rarely you get in any company, and this isn't any company, very rarely you get people that know exactly what we are supposed to do.
Or what we're currently doing.
Or we're currently doing. So it's a kinship. We know we do so much, whereas the other person can get on the phone with somebody and we already know what it is, and vice versa. And we already know what we could probably do to help that person too. Yeah. And that conversation might not only help that person, but it might help that market too. Because, it could be a falling down situation like Michael Douglas, or it could be a situation where you give somebody some advice on how to do something better. And then it's helpful, like I said, for that person, that career, that market, revenue, anything. Because we all still go for the same goals as the people on the programming side or the sales side. Ratings, revenue. We have those same goals.
And can I say this too? Like, for anybody in the industry that's watching, we are not sitting there playing on the internet. When you walk up and you see us looking at a meme or looking at this is not the way you do it, and it's not playing. We're like, I can bet all 4 of us have been accused of playing on the internet while we're at the job.
I don't even want to talk about mine.
I just don't. The internet is our job. We're not sitting there playing on the internet. It is our responsibility to have our finger on the pulse and know what's going on. I just had to say that because a lot of people think, oh, our digital person, they just play on the internet all day.
Or they just make a post, 1 or 2 posts a day, and then that's it. That's all you got
to
do.
Just like you don't want to play that specific song. We don't want to play that. We don't want to look at that meme, but it's our job.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier about planning content, but do you personally sit down and say to myself, like, what am I going to post for this coming couple of weeks or whatever? Like,
I do. But sometimes that it gets thrown out because of life or because of events and stuff. But I do plan. My iPhone is my friend, because if you saw my notepad, child, that's where a lot of my planning happens. Or if I get inspired while I'm out or I have an idea, I forget a lot of things. So I'll jot it down on my notepad. I have a list of things in my notepad, and then I'll go back and I'll write a date next to it. Or I'll send myself an email and I can work it out later. But I do a lot of planning, but there are a few things that are fly by night too. I'm working on a piece of content, a little TikTok reel. And it came from being at my mom's house at Christmas. I was literally looking around my mom's house and I came up, I was like, oh, this is funny. So I shot some stuff. She's going to kill me when she realizes what I did, but yeah, all right.
What about you, Bank?
I used to, but now I don't because I got so much stuff going on. It's hard to. So a lot of the best content really just fly by night. It's just like on spot. I think it helps because in high school I took an improv class. Yeah. So a lot of the best stuff that I've done is literally been fly, like on the fly. My son, I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street 3 one day. I was like, let me go grab Trey. That's my oldest. Let me go grab Trey. He's never seen this. And he's just sitting there like, man, you was watching this when you was how old? Younger than you. And it ended up being an interesting conversation with him that people liked, and it was funny. And I find myself doing that rather than, all right, today I'm going to do this, going to do that, because it doesn't end up as impactful as I would like it to be.
Because I feel like a lot of for you, your comedy is within your life because your kids are hilarious, especially Trey. I love conversations with Trey because Trey is an old man. And when he sees something you do, and then he got something to say about, like, especially when he talking about parenting, oh my gosh. Like, and that's just organic, hilarious content. I can't do that. I don't have a Trey. I don't have a kid. So I think if I did have a kid, I could be a lot more spontaneous, organic, or just put because kids do funny things. So, I love that you do that, and it really works for you. It also speaks to creators doing what works with your life. That's true. Because somebody else is going through it and somebody else likes it. And even though I don't have children, I love watching JR's kids because they're funny.
If you have any lasting words of advice for those that are watching this, and maybe even some executives that may watch this, management, share what you want to say.
I feel like we just turn this into a hiring video. The one thing that I believe to me to be fortunate to be in a position is that I wasn't one of those people that grew up in radio. Like I had other jobs before, and got in the radio at I think 29 or whatever. So I hear stories about people saying, well, I was 16 when I got this internship. So I think of things differently than other people in radio might. I say that to say this. This is the most fun that I've had in a job ever. All right, when you go to a radio station, it's supposed to be fun. Like, will there be stress along the way? Yes, but this is the most fun that I've ever had. With that being said, fun can be stressful too.
Yes.
So to anybody that's watching this that wants to get in digital, just manage your expectations, manage your time, set boundaries, and manage your stress. Because the more fun that you have and the more work that you do, sometimes the walls can start closing in. But when they do, just understand that the number one objective is to have fun and to have your listeners and have your people have fun and enjoy the ride and all of those things. And be cool out here when the walls start closing in. Just know and understand that at the end of the day, this is entertainment.
Yeah.
Everything can be fine.
And, I'll add to that is that for the people in the office, remembering, yes, we are doing ratings and revenue and that kind of stuff, but also allow your staff some creative space, allow them to express themselves, allow them to contribute to the brands, because the people that you have working there, they're there for a reason and they have a talent. Let people bring that talent to fruition. There's a lot of people that micromanage in this business because they think that they know better. And I'm, out of all four of us, including Aliya, I'm the one that's worked in this business the longest. And I'm not the person that says that I know the most. Mm-hmm. Your longevity in the business does not mean you know the most, because things change so much in this business. And you have to be open to whatever is changing, what's evolving. So really get to know your staff, get to know what they're about, have the finger on the pulse of the target demo. I can't tell you how many people in this business are outside of the target demo, but telling you what the target demo wants, but haven't even talked to the target demo. So there's just a lot of things like that in this business. And I think sometimes we have to step back and realize that experience isn't always the best tool. But knowing how to ask questions and having the right people around you is a great tool to bring in. Sometimes you have that there and you're not using it.
I'm always honored for stuff like this, for people to even consider me to contribute to this type of conversation. I think the digital space, I worked in a bunch of different industries, and I don't know if it's just radio digital space or if it was just where we all came from, but this digital space that we know each other from is the most connected I've ever been to a group of employees. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And if there's anybody out here watching, digital is really a community because you have to stay connected all the time. And I think that's really special.
And I hope that people that are watching this really get it, understand it, implement it, and grow with it. Thank you for all of your time. Check you guys later.